Creativity is
Creativity means
Creativity to me is
can really be a lot of things.
I always grew up around creative people. My dad has a bachelor in arts and my mom has a bachelor in English, and they're both teachers. My dad teaches photography, so I always grew up around photography, camera work, also painting, fine arts, because he also taught that. And then my mom was also a dancer, so I feel like I get a lot of influence from her being put in dance. So I think growing up, I was put in a bunch of creative hobbies. So I feel like that's influenced who I am today because I still continue some of those hobbies because of them.
I've always been able to draw and craft and make stories, but I remember a specific time in the beginning of 7th grade where I purchased a sketchbook from the dollar store, and I think that realization hit me shortly after that. I'm way more into the arts than I had originally thought I was. Shortly after was the first time a peer outside of my family had commented on my creativity and my ideas. So even as the school year ended, my teacher had even encouraged me to practice and pursue writing and art. And that moment really stuck with me.
I was about 2 years old and I built my own wooden dollhouse with the help of my dad, of course, because I couldn't use glue at 2 years old, but we've got pictures of stages. I thought when I first started school, I was terrified because I come into this university at 48 years old. I had already raised 4 kids. And I was really worried that I wasn't going to fit in. Yeah, it was a little shocking at first, but now it's like, hey, I chose right.
when I lived in England, me and my friends used to make these YouTube videos. We put them out on a channel called SB Films, and I think the memories we shared together in creating these videos is monumental in shaping who I am now as a person.
Whatever you boys don't learn, today we're gonna go around town having coin casting.
But when I moved to Canada, I maybe lost a lot of connection with them. We don't talk as much over time, but I think those videos are something we share together and we can all look back on and just laugh about how cringy we were, and also how creative we were.
I mean, honestly, SB Films would probably be better without them. I mean, like...
I feel like creativity, in some regard, is inherited, at least maybe in your initial approach to, you know, what makes you creative, what are you creative about, what excites you.
I think creativity is a lot like a muscle. It's something that can be constantly worked on and improved on. I think naturally there is some aspect of some people being more creative than others, but ultimately you don't have to define yourself by that logic. I think a lot of people as children are really creative.
I never had too much creativity in me because, like, I don't think I was really born with it. I was very imaginative when I was younger, but I wasn't really creative. I finally kind of the creativity really came when I started reading all the fantasy books because there is so much to them. Reading.
With kids even, if you start them early enough, you know, their stick figures turn into a lot more as they get older. And I know personally with my grandkids, I have watched them do stick figures, and watching me draw and do art, they have slowly learned, hey, let's add this. Oh, look, I can add a circle and then it looks like a horse. And they just kept going, and that taught them.
I don't like the way they look at all. Like, they're so gross in my opinion. But I also know that, like, again, this is like elementary school me, they get better over time. I want to love what I do for work, and I'm getting there.
That's the kicker. That is probably one of my biggest struggles currently. I'm doing this because I love it. I chose to enroll into a film program at a university because I loved it and I wanted to be able to try to turn it into a career. It becomes challenging, though, to realize that it is a career. You need to schedule out hours just like you would any other job. And my approach changes ever so slightly because of that.
I don't like being forced to create something or having the pressure of having to create. Like if I'm painting with friends, I don't like the added pressure of them watching me paint or something like that. I don't like people seeing my creative process a lot of the times.
It's a lot of self-discipline that is currently a skill that I am trying to develop as best I can before I actually do start turning this into a big-time career.
So I think there are many different aspects of creativity. It doesn't have a rigid definition of simply being artistic expression.
I'd say in high school, I was really involved in video production and creating videos. I was super passionate about it. So I think the oversaturation of having to create videos just made me so bored of it, because I just hate coming with ideas sometimes. It's a little exhausting. So I thought, oh, I might be better at doing sciences. I don't have to think all the time. I should do something more logical. And I think that's what pushed me to go into the sciences instead of continuing in something like film production.
Both arts and humanities versus sciences is very similar but different. They parallel off of each other, both striving to kind of push boundaries and reach new limits. But I feel like the sciences are very bound by structure and form, whereas the arts kind of need more structure and form. And I think having a little bit more of a science background has both benefited me in creating visual works because I have that structure and I'm constantly looking for more.
I think creativity in a lot of people's heads is just doing something like painting a picture or writing a poem, but there are many different elements to it that can coexist with each other.
I feel like you could even see like forms of engineering as an art. There's always some aspect of creativity with it.
Do you think you'll ever be in a position where technology would take over your creativity?
No, it would not.
Creativity and technology is like the slipperiest slope imaginable.
Going into things like photography, videography, and just the adaptation of the equipment of being able to produce videos and just all the software involved with that. It's kind of interesting to see how it's evolved even from when I started back in high school.
You know, there's high schoolers running around making these most beautiful short films that are going to get them into these amazing programs. That's all really cool. But I don't know if I want to go into the AI conversation part of it.
You can do so much with AI, but to me, it's fake. It's not your work.
Sometimes I think AI does help me when I'm in a creative block or something and I just can't do anything. I need something to just give me a prompt, just like, go do this, Kira.
It is something that is important and that other creators should think about and take into consideration when going into this field. Right now, I have other things that I'm worrying about, and I think that artists have been around for forever, and we aren't dying out now.
I don't think AI will take over creativity as long as we don't let it.
I do feel like a part of creativity is the development of the craft or the skill.
People will train themselves to draw realism, and people will train themselves to draw cartoons and be the most diverse in the physical set of art so they can draw anything that they want, but at the same time they can only draw what's already been presented because they didn't train themselves to come up with their own original ideas. So I think that they can be creative, but they have to learn and teach themselves how to be creative separately than just learning how to do the physical skills themselves.
Quality of the work does not necessarily matter to me. You're developing the craft and the skill. You're not always going to be producing the greatest work. And you should be able to look back at your work and be like, oh, you know, I've come pretty far from then, haven't I?
My therapist said, oh, Kira, you're looking better today. Like, you're looking better like this past semester because I'm taking 3 art classes and only 1 science course. And the science course is something I like. So she's actually seen a shift in my personality. I'm feeling a lot better mentally, especially having a piano now that I got for Christmas. And just all of that together my therapist has seen an improvement. And it's kind of funny.
I think creativity to me is only one aspect of who I am. I don't want it to be something that kind of controls how I think, because I don't want everything to be align with me thinking I have to be a creative person, you know? I love talking to people, I love having new experiences, but creativity is a big part in having a fulfilling life. I don't want the same thing every day, or else things will get stale. And what's the point in that?
You can literally put anything you want on that piece of paper.
I think creativity ultimately is whatever you define it as being. It could be artistic expression, it could be problem solving. There are so many different elements to it.
Creativity is self-expression. Creativity is identity. Creativity is how I perceive myself and how I perceive others. And it's how I have developed, how I've learned to love myself.
I want other people to feel inspired to create for themselves and to be happy with their work.
I think, why be creative? How to let yourself go and put a piece of yourself out in the world, whether they like it or not.
Be kind to yourself as you try to discover that, and acknowledge that it might change. You might have some kind of a creative block or be in some sort of creative deficit, and that's okay. It's like the tides. It's going to go in and then it's going to go out, and you just have to kind of roll with it a little bit, be kind to yourself, and if all else fails, try something new.